Well, thanks for, getting up early to do this.
Yeah,
This has
pleasure.
been such a treat to be able to talk with you. I mean, I know I think for like all musicians, it's so nice to just be able to talk with the composer's, art that they're working on. I mean, this is our largest piece on the program.
Right.
And then we're doing two other pieces, which happen to also be by local Ohio composers. So
Oh,
it was
good.
just kind of serendipity that you ended up being from Ohio as
Right,
well.
right, right. You didn't even know that when you first started. Yeah.
Right, right. So, and you're in New York City now, yes?
Yes. Like, yeah, I live in Manhattan on the Upper West Side.
So tell me, what is your, like daily schedule and life and creative process been like over the past year with COVID?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's kind of different, but well, first of all, you're separated from your audiences. It's almost not you're separated from the audience, but you're separated from thinking about audiences as
Hmm.
a certain thing. So when you compose, somewhere in your subconscious, there's always an audience. Now it's, virtual at best. And I have a lot of things sitting, waiting on deck uh,
Mm.
to be performed. And the performers now they have pieces that they may have commissioned from me,
Hmm.
but they are waiting to perform it, for
Right.
an audience. So it's almost like being a trucking company or something like that. You've got all these goods
Yeah,
sitting there
absolutely.
waiting to be delivered.
Right. Have you done any compositions that were like COVID specifically inspired, or are they still kind of more personal?
I suppose everything is COVID inspired
Yeah.
that one does during this period. It's almost impossible to keep it out, but of your subconscious.
And tell me about your creative process for the piece that we're playing, Blue,
Yeah,
Red, and Green.
blue, red, green. Well, that one had to happen fast. I was trying to figure out what the piece should be about.
Hmm.
So I just thought of three colors. Why don't we do it? It was that random to the extent that anything is random. But
Right.
blue, red, green, and I let that sort of wash over me as I composed. And I composed day and night to do it because I needed to get it done fast. Having things come, you know, you know, uh, to mind as a result of like blue, red, green,
Mm.
uh, guides uh, guided me with choosing the notes,
Yeah.
and the things that I loved hearing as a result get worked on, and then those I sit and do sort of left brain working on.
If you're thinking of the, color blue, or even if you're thinking back to when you were writing or hearing this piece, what kind of emotions come to you when you hear or think or see the color blue?
Yeah, sort of, sort of cool and like you're in the evening when you know
Mm.
the sun is gone down and but and there's also a morning thing that the French have, l'heure bleue, I think,
Oh.
uh, and it's about a moment in the morning before the sun has come up
Mm.
that is the blue hour, and I just thought of it. I didn't realize that I had thought of that, but at any rate, that's part of it. Thank you.
Some like descriptive words that you use that I think can kind of help us get into those like color zones, do like the opening chords, which were what sold me when I first heard you recording the
Right. Yeah.
do ah do.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Right.
Red. I just that was sort of easy. That was like go fast and get wild. Um, and people are dancing and just almost out of control.
So then green. What
And well, green was youth, you know, that combination of youth and springtime. So things growing, and that early part where it, like a few bars in, it goes into pits, and I decided it started to sound like a spring gentle rainfall. You know, hits the roof and hits the metal, whatever. The whole thing is about the materials of a piece and then working with it, you know. So one of the materials can be that it breaks into a little barcarolle or something like that, or it's,
Yes.
and then you let it slide out and go somewhere else. And
Yeah.
it's that impetuousness of youth that green wants to be. And then at the end, there's this chorale, this sort of like, oh well, let's sit down and think about this, think about all three movements,
Mm.
at the end. So that's why that sort of uh,
We adore the chorale at the end, and that's actually we've been finding some chorale-like moments in the other pieces we've been playing as well.
mhm.
So it'll be a really nice little ending to our rehearsal yesterday, and probably in the program as well. I
Yeah,
think the chorale is like such a great way to like breathe with your audience.
yeah, right, exactly.
And now this idea, and now this movement. The green movement has a lot of solo moments, and I'm particularly appreciative of the solo viola moments that you put throughout the piece. But
Right.
yeah, in green, I think there's a lot of moments for the viola. Um, we don't get a lot of that.
Yeah, I know. What are people thinking? Wow, come on, let's write for this viola.
It's yeah, it's such a versatile instrument, and but it does have to be voiced somewhere where it can be heard.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that you were able to experiment with those players in terms of writing for them that you hadn't been able to try before, because all the stuff it works really well.
Yeah,
And I think one of our favorite parts about your piece is that it's so rich. And I
right,
think a lot of people think of a string trio and they're like, that's not a lot of sound. But
right. Yeah,
you make it work, and there's a lot of composers that have even a trio with just two violins and a viola.
yeah.
Um, so, anyway, so what did you try that was new?
Well, for example, that opening sound in blue, it was this, wow. Um, I had never done that before. For example, they're like colors. Also, there are places where I send the violin up pretty high. Everybody, and then I have everybody just sort of um, in a gaggle together um, that starts out arco and then becomes pits. In other words, I put the instruments into a discussion that becomes a battle.
Mm.
At certain spots.
Mm. Yeah, a lot of like voices at the same time. We were just working on green yesterday. There is one section that's nice and chaotic, kind
Okay.
of in the middle, and yeah, it's really lovely. I think many composers have time to rework their pieces. So what sort of things were you wanting to change like immediately about the piece, and what things like kind of came later when you
Yeah.
revised?
Well, first of all, I had the three instruments, and once I realized how and that they were like major players on their instruments, I
Mm.
realized there were a lot of things I could try. A lot of things that come to you to one at this point in the career is guided by the fact that I've done some things, so I don't need to try them again. So some of the things I did in blue, red, green were I had never tried before, and then I've certainly never tried being influenced by colors. In a way, once you feel that you can compose almost anything, then it's a question of almost leaving things out.
Mm.
It's like so, um, and running little experiments.
So it sounds like a lot of your composition comes from improvisation first, and then expanding upon that kind of
Yeah, yeah.
jazz influence.
No, not really, because as you know from Blue, Red, Green, it's not jazzy. I mean, everybody in the U.S. and maybe world now is influenced by jazz and
Yeah.
jazz thinking, and it's just when you start thinking about creating, jazz has taught us how much can be done uh, composing on the spot. Let's put it that way. I trust what comes, and if I had meant to make my hand go to F sharp or something like that in this line, and I miss and I hit F natural, then I changed the way I'm thinking, and started creating a line that makes that inevitable. Now, when I say that there's no jazz in these three pieces, of course there is, but I didn't even know it. But Blue, for example, the blues was suggested.
Hmm.
So when the cello goes, ba dee da 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 dee da dee, it's like a blues singer like lamenting.
Okay, so I have one more question about the piece, and that's just your take on harmonies.
Yeah, well, it's part of the paint. It's that you work with, and
Yeah.
um, I like to slide from one thing to another. And at this point in the 21st century, it's we've got all these colors, and everything's been done once or twice or 100 times.
Yes.
So because there's so many possibilities, um, the challenge is to go from possibility to possibility and make it feel uh, natural, and
Yeah.
so that's some for me. It's some of the fun of composing. It's not just everything's about this is my whole tone piece, scale piece. No, this is whole tone scale will be drawn upon when it is inevitable.
We're so honored to work on your piece. It's been wonderful, really. It has.
Great, great,
Do you have
great.
any last words of advice for us on the piece? You're talking about, just being in the color and the feelings and the imagery is going to be so informative in our rehearsals.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything else?
Well, do the notes, and then back off and have a rehearsal in which you just do the feelings.
Mm.
The three of you should have a group uh, sense of each of the colors,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
then of course stick it back in your subconscious. I mean, don't get too serious about it. But once it's back in the subconscious, then let the subconscious tell you what to do with the notes.
Great. No, I love it. It's all so great. It's so great to hear. And thank you so much for taking your time this morning to chat with us.
Hey,
I hope you have a
Rachel.
great rest of your week.
Thank you.
And
You too.
thank you. We'll talk soon.
Looking forward to that.
All
Okay.
right.
Bye.
Bye.